For some time now, we've been talking about the important areas for the main examination from the economics. That is, you'll have it in paper 3. What are the economics prime areas for the upcoming exam? That's been our discussion for a while now. I remember about, say, 20 topics already discussed, and now we are into another 5 topics. They're important, they carry technical points, analysis, everything. So it's important that we focus on it. The first topic is not this. I won't take this up as the first one. First one, I will take up cost of living crisis. Okay. Cost of living crisis, the topic we can relate to. Since late 2021, when the impact of pandemic was abating, we have had price levels shooting up. There is this poly crisis, COVID first, supply chains broke down, scarcities, loose monetary policy, adding to the money stock, Dutch chasing goods, pushing up the prices. So supply chain breakdown, huge addition to the price levels in the market. Where is the supply? There's a lot of demand because of monetary policy being, very liberal, expansionary. And so there's a lot of money, but goods are few, and so prices will double up. 2 causes pushing the prices up. If that's not enough, I'm talking about late 21. By then itself prices were high because the COVID impact was playing out fairly harshly. But then the monetary authorities did not bother too much. Why? COVID wrecked up the economy. Now we are growing back. Nobody would like to risk the growth, which is precious, having come after a huge recessionary fall. So they were not ready to tinker with growth. Prices were going up, but that was overlooked because the growth was going up. What some would call growthflation. Not a technical word as such. Growthflation. Growth plus inflation. Generally, when you think of inflation, you think of growth. It's too bad if inflation is there and no growth is there. It's sufferable. Inflation is sufferable if there is growth accompanying it. We all attach inflation to growth. So you overlooked inflation, you thought you will come back to it, let's keep the economy growing. As if the problem was not bad enough, Ukraine war took place, energy costs went up, energy prices went up. Food, Ukraine and Russia, wheat, oilseeds, so the prices went up. Ukraine war. As if that is not enough, you had China lockdown. Chinese lockdown last year. When everyone else opened up, Chinese people locked down. God knows why. I think it's to divert attention from their support to Russia on the Ukraine front. I think so. But still, it's okay. So, these are the reasons that have had impact on Supply is shooting up the prices of goods and services, and the additionality of a lot of money floating around. And that's a fairly unheard of level of inflation. Double digits, close to that, 9%, 10% in UK, USA, there in European Union. India also, we were ruling at about, say, 7 something the whole of last fiscal. So what happened was cost of living. What is cost of living? There are certain goods and services essential for our living. They make up a basket. And all those goods and services, which are a standard basket for our daily lives, prices were going up. Food, energy, that takes away a lot of budget. And the secondary impact of all that. Energy means transport and manufacturing and whatnot. But the salaries were not going up commensurately. So salaries were growing much slower than the prices were growing. And this gap created cost of living crisis. We are not able to afford food. What do I tell my kids at home? Germany is officially in recession. European Union officially in recession. That means stagflation. No growth, only price rise. Stagflation. So cost of living, it's biting into our daily consumption. Not able to afford. The cost of living is getting higher and higher. That means I'm not able to afford. That's the simple meaning of it. I have to cut down on edible oils, dal, rice, chapati, vegetable, fruit, egg, everything. That is cost of living. And there's a crisis. What's a crisis? There is a pressure on it. I'm not able to afford it. I'm not able to consume. Future is bleak. All that is cost of living. Consumer confidence falls. Consumption falls. Savings are depleted. And any thought like having to borrow and spend, the costs were very high. Cost of credit. So it's a perfect storm. At a micro level, at a macro level. Micro, my life, my family, my company. Macro, for the whole economy. There is a crisis. And this kind of crisis in my career, I've never seen. Maybe some early 80s, late 70s America. But there's a war associated with it. There's a pandemic associated with it. And throwing money around through the Federal Reserve and central banks like we have never seen before. In your lifetime, you have never seen before at all. So this is absolutely unprecedented. You're growing up in these times, which means that the textbook understanding of inflation, monetary policy, etc., you don't have. You have only abnormal pictures of inflation, etc. in your mind. But this is not the norm. This is abnormal. So that was the cost of living crisis, and the government swung in along with the central bank. So what did the government do? Some steps I can tell you. I need not give you the catalog. Some steps of what the government has done. Surely what do you do when people are, not able to cope with the inflation? What do? You subsidize. Fertilizer, you subsidize. And Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Atmanirbhar Anna Yojana, all that, you throw the entire PDS system free. Make it free. 5 kg, free. So you subsidize the grain, you subsidize the fertilizer to make them affordable. And, to ensure that, after all, there are only two sides to inflation. One is supply, the other is demand. Government cut down the import duties on certain food items, edible oils, pulses. Now they are thinking of cutting down on wheat also. So you can access them cheaper. The government sold grain in the open market so that, the demand is satisfied and prices don't shoot up. So supply side, be it through the budget like subsidy or, cutting down the rates or open market sales price stabilization. What the government could do, government did. And on the demand side, the RBI came in. RBI said, we are raising the rates. Money will be costlier because if it is cheap, you are borrowing and spending and prices are going up. Remember one thing, there is a political economy part of it. You should understand. Inflation doesn't hurt you. You are a civil servant. It may not hurt me so much. I can keep up my consumption. It hurts 60% of the people so badly. And I've read a report on the BBC yesterday. They did a Gallup poll in Northern Ireland or Ireland somewhere. And they've come to know that women are particularly hit. Women eat last. They have nothing to eat. And women also are hit mentally. Tomorrow, like you are going to sleep. What is there in your mind? What will come in polity? What will come in economy? Will sustainable development goals come? How do I write? When the lady at home goes to sleep, her mind is, what am I cooking tomorrow? What does my first child, what does my second child want? That's there in her mind. Heats up her mind. She's under mental stress. So don't think cost of living crisis is merely an economic phenomenon. It is social, it is psychological. It could create an insurrection also at this rate. So, RBI said we are raising the rates across the year 22-23. The rates went up. Today they are at 6.5. Banks add a little to that and they lend at that rate, which is costlier still. So, are you not wrecking up the economy? You are. Because, the medicine is very bitter. You have to bring the growth down a little bit. You have to create some unemployment, which is the way to go for reducing the demand, and only then prices will come down, and hundreds of millions of people feel comfortable when prices come down. The guys who are hit are the upper crust. When the rates go up, stock market people, corporates and higher income people. But the ones who are relieved because prices have come down today, what is your CPI? What, 4.5 or less? Where was it? 7.5. So, I'm not saying RBI brought it down. I'm saying everyone together, globally also commodity prices have come down because of recession. In recession, who will buy? When nobody buys, prices will come down. We thought that China is bouncing back, there'll be huge demand. But China is not bouncing back, at least as of now. So global commodity prices have come down and that helped the cooling of prices. RBI did its bit. It raised the rates and killed the demand and brought down the prices. So Government of India as well as RBI, along with the global commodity prices falling, all that conspired to ensure that prices behave in our country. Not the same in UK. UK is going to go into recession. Stagflation, obviously. Prices are high, rates are high, and double whammy for consumption and demand, and you crash. If you're lucky, you will gradually sort of slow down. If you are unlucky, there'll be a hard landing. You crash. America, is a separate story. Britain, there's an additional problem of Brexit. They could not import duty free from rest of Europe because they pulled out. They pulled out for reasons that ordinary man cannot understand. They pulled out for emotional reasons, and so they are suffering in reality. So that's an extra reason there. And as of now, inflation is here, but El Nino people are talking about. If that happens, God forbid, the food crisis is going to be a bit problematic, etc. So let's not, by the time you're appearing for the exam, El Nino, whether it comes or not, we'll know. But as of now, We have no idea, but the rains in Delhi, this is not El Nino, this is La Nina. It's pouring in Delhi. Delhi is like a hill station, the weather. So we have no idea what's going to happen on the El Nino front. As of now, prices have cooled. And prices have cooled also on the back of a base effect. You went up this much, and whatever little you go is, in percentage terms, looking dim. That is, you think it's a huge sort of a remedy that has paid off. So that's about the, cost of living crisis. I would like you to see this. Please read this. Everything that I have taught you just now that we discussed, I have incorporated in the write-up. You would love to read it. It'll be there as a PDF also if you like. But, because you're already in the game, it'll take you a few pleasant moments to go through this and so on and so forth. Women's mental health and physical health. The same fault lines you see in the society play out whenever there is an economic crisis. Exactly what is happening right now. Now, the CBD seat came in the prelim. Every reason it could come in the main, I have no idea, but it's becoming of us to discuss this. We need to discuss this. So why did the RBI launch the e-rupee? Pilot basis is a technical fact. Don't bother about it. E-rupee. What are the risks associated with it? The risks because Y means benefits. The RBI late last year launched e-rupee, CBDC. It is called Central Bank Digital Currency. It's all, you had this cryptocurrency and people were flocking to it. It's a private coin. It's not government supported. There's no backing for it. Its performance is its a credibility. All the blockchain, distributed ledger, etc. Very speculative. People burnt their fingers or hands or full body on it. Some people made money. And RBI's e-rupee, the CBDC, is not comparable to it because it's fiat money. You don't lose one paisa here. You can make millions there, you can lose millions there. Here you don't lose at all. This is fiat. Government order. Fiat is government order. This is a paper. This paper has value because the RBI says it has value. From paper, you've gone digital because technology is there. Cryptos have done well. There is cryptography that ensures that there is no counterfeiting, etc. So RBI, China, and others, not America yet because they are not yet convinced about it. Let's see what they will do. There's a $26 trillion economy. Why they are holding back, we have no idea. But China was the first to go, and a lot of other countries have, and now we are also joining. So digital resources are there. What the RBI thought is, let's float it. Apparently, 31 lakh crores of cash is floating around. 31 lakh crores. I'm talking about before the 2000 thing. And you know how much it takes to print that? 5,000 crores. 5,000 crores. And tomorrow they're going to get dirty, or tomorrow they're going to You see a lot of counterfeited stuff, and with better security features, you have to reintroduce the same note, and you have to, you know, take it back. All that is going to cost. Distribution, trucks and all that you see on the roads. Distribution, the logistics of it, the storage of it, all that. It costs a lot. So why not use the digital rupee to cut those costs down? Initially, you have to spend thousands of crores here also to build the digital backbone. But after that, the costs are precious little. So the cost part of it is a big, big takeaway. And the second benefit is you can't counterfeit it. Today, dollar is being counterfeited like you can't believe. Rupee counterfeited we have seen in 2016, we have seen recently also counterfeited. That's a separate industry altogether. And this can't happen in the case of the digital rupee. That's point number two. Point number three is transparency. Transparency, you know how much is floating around, and that helps you to make your monetary policy effective. Point number four is financial inclusion. Today we means the rural women, poor people, they don't keep money in the bank. Why? They don't know what will happen to the bank. The bank can fold up. There could be a crisis. But once you put your money in the RBI's e-rupee, it is as safe as the mother's womb. The safest place to be. So, people will flock to it. That's our expectation. That's point number four. Point number five would be the CBDC. You want to internationalize the payments. So somebody sitting in Russia can pay you in the e-rupee. No special rupee Wasco account and correspondent banking, all that. Sitting in Moscow, you pick up e-rupee and push it to your exporter in India. So international trade in rupees can pick up with e-rupee. That's a huge, huge benefit that you can possibly present. That's another big benefit with e-rupee. And when people jump at the e-rupee and adopt it en masse, you have formalization of the economy. Today, people keep their money in rupee, this, that, gold and all that. People will keep it in e-rupee because, for all the benefits we have just now seen, and that will become formalized, that will contribute to formalization of the economy. Economy will be formalized. That's another big benefit. So yes, these are the benefits behind RBI launch. China launched it. How far it's gone, we really are not tracking because Ukraine came, China lockdown came, and the spat between the two countries. So Chinese CBDC has taken a back seat of late, so we are not tracking as we used to, but it'll be in headlines soon enough. So, these are the benefits. Sometimes we do things out of fear of missing out. Is the RBI really reaping benefits? We have no idea. But is it a FOMO operation here? We have no idea. After all, it's not even been 7 months. Last November, December, on a pilot basis, retail, a few banks are chosen, a few customers are chosen, and among them, they are transacting in the e-rupee. At the wholesale level, RBI sold me a government security. I sold it to Mr. X. So Mr. X, I sold it to Mr. X, that is secondary market. So in the government security secondary market, the wholesale application of e-rupees, secondary market, it's allowed. So very narrow market for e-rupee as of now. And the reports we have seen is that they are not a hit yet. As of now, they are not a hit. Because the world is grappling with other problems now. Severe problems at the global level, continental level, local level, This is not a very, these are interesting times, as the China proverb has it. These are very interesting times. So, RBI launched it. So, what can go wrong here? Two things that strike you immediately, if I know you properly, correctly. Privacy, privacy, whatever. And then cyber criminals, the Jamtara guys. And of late, they have moved to NUH, no, Haryana place. These two, anyone can guess we are vulnerable. Though, the blockchain, distributed ledger, that is not so vulnerable. It's rock solid, ironclad, impregnable, But still, we need to code this. The third one, in my view, is it's not yet, we don't know enough about it. See, SBI is there, Bank of Baroda, they're all there. RBI is there. I've got 10,000 rupees. Where do I keep it? If I keep it in SBI, if the SBI goes belly up, God forbid, it never will, then only a portion of my deposit is insured. If I keep it in the RBI, the question of the central bank digital currency going wrong doesn't arise. So I would like to transfer all my money to the RBI, CBDC. So what will SBI be doing? SBI has nothing to do. Nobody will deposit there. Nobody will buy its shares. Nobody will buy its bond. SBI is empty. So that problem could crop up. How can you, I'm just, sort of thinking loud. How can you avoid that? Well, if the RBI, I bought my 5,000 in the e-rupee, digital rupee. RBI doesn't pay me any interest. If it doesn't pay me any interest, why will I move to RBI? You please tell me. I will keep it only SBI because SBI gives me 3, 4, 5, whatever percent interest. My money grows. And I'm a retired guy. I live off my sort of pension and all that. But here, RBI pays me nothing. And surely SBI is as credible as RBI. Unless the RBI pays me equal rate of interest or half a percentage point less, I will trust only the SBI. I'll take a little risk and I'll put my money only in the SBI. Why? Interest. So now the open question is, will CBDC ever, when it enters the market, the full market, not a pilot market, when the RBI enters the market seeking to attract our deposits, how much money will go that side? Because if it pays interest, it'll be a huge attraction. If it doesn't pay interest, I'm not sure who will keep the money there. So you could, government will keep the money, government may not get any interest, and then export-import money, the foreign trade for a brief while, just for payment. So how can it take off unless it pays interest? And if it pays interest, the commercial banking system will be empty. So this conundrum, how do you square the circle here? How do you ensure, there is no cannibalization, one bank eating another bank? So these are the risks, real risks. And it is already, say, the last few days of June. They're going to, maybe now, maybe, I think so, there'll be some talk about it. Yeah. So when there is more talk about it, we'll come to know about it. As of now, this is all we know. We don't know too much more about it. Now you please take a look. Fiat currency. I remember seeing this in the prelim paper 2-3 years back. Fiat. See, you give me gold. Gold has value. Give me silver. It has value. Give me, say, any commodity, it has value. But you're giving me paper, And not even paper, you're giving me electronic space, dots you are giving. And they carry value only because the government says they have value. That is a fiat currency. And we know the evolution of money today. It is a time for the fiat currency, unbacked by any commodity. Though we follow a minimal, reserve system, that's another story. So fiat currency is a currency which acquires value not because of any intrinsic value, but because of the government order. See, I told you 31 lakh crores of cash going around. 5,000 crores is what it takes to print it. And then they start counterfeiting, I told you. The logistics, I told you. Importer, exporter, told you. Efficiency, yeah, you see, you sell me something and I'll give you money later. All that, sell me something, the settlement. If I sell you shares and you have to pay me on. Now, there is absolute efficiency in the payment system. That can also be. Transparency. Cash, we don't know where it is. Here, CBDC. Bank fraud, the question doesn't arise. How can the CBDC be frauded? How can the CBDC, bank failed? The question doesn't arise at all. And there is one, point. How much can you spend? When can you spend? Or what can you spend? All that can be programmed. And, that's another advantage. Formalization. Financial inclusion. That's because of reliability. Everyone flocks to an asset which is 100% reliable. And right now, though, if you keep gold, that can be stolen. Keep it in commercial bank, that can, go bankrupt. Keep it in CBDC. It is a woman's delight. Why? Secure. So these are the benefits of the CBDC. Now let's see where the risks are. Cybercrime, privacy, impact on the banking sector. Will it carry interest or not? We have no idea. If it does carry interest, then you are puncturing the whole banking system. How exactly? There is no record to the CBDC because it's just getting born, so we don't know how things will play out. But yeah, there is a thing called sandbox. RBI sandbox. Sandbox is where you experiment with a financial product before you put it into a pilot form. But sandbox, they must have done a lot, but still real market is real market. So interest rates and all that, early stages, they can revolutionize. Your generation, I have a feeling, will use CBDC much, much more than any other currency because it feels very, very secure. In life, when it comes to finance, security is everything. So this is where this is a digital rupee. R is for retail, W is for wholesale. It got introduced late in 22. I didn't say December, November, etc. Digital retail, 13 banks are selected, 50,000 customers selected, 5,000 merchants, through which you acquire the CBDC. And this many transactions you have seen. Primary market is when the issuer of the security, you get it from him, primary market. And if somebody buys from you, that is secondary market. This is primary, this is secondary. From here on, it is secondary. Because the man who is the entity issuing the security is not involved in these transactions. Here is the first time that the issuing authority you have access to and you got the security from the issuing authority, that's primary market. Rest all is second. So primary market, this is, why did we have to talk about it? Because in the wholesale market for digital rupee, which is called e-rupee officially, the transactions are confined only to the secondary market. I am a bank, you are a bank. I bought 10,000 crores worth of government securities from you, not from the RBI, you and I, secondary market. So I sell you, you pay me in e-rupee. That is where it stands today. And things are moving so fast that if I were to be discussing in, say, October, November, the picture could be pretty different. This, I'm liking this. Why? I'll tell you. See, today, we are all in the shadow of pandemic. The memories are long. COVID is still there. Pandemic, which is just about abating, and the Ukraine war, and these two big guys fighting, America, China. That's created a shadow in which we are not in a position to talk about the poly crisis, multiple crises. Crises would be plural. We've got the crisis that COVID devastated us. We've got not India, but so many other countries. We have so many, Sri Lanka, Pakistan. They don't have foreign currency because they couldn't export because the world shut down. But imports wait for nobody. You have to import. And your currencies were also melting because, America sort of rates and all that. We have seen it in India also. So you see, there is a debt crisis. You've taken loan. You are not able to clear that. There is a climate crisis. We have seen Pakistan 1/3 under flood water. Right now, the so-called monsoon in Delhi, I don't think Delhi monsoon doesn't come now. Delhi monsoon comes in July. And this kind of rains, everyone knows. I don't have to talk about it. So, climate, poverty, inequality. Brazil under Bolsonaro stripped the country of the rainforest. Started to. So there's a biodiversity crisis. And of course, debt, poverty, inequality, climate, and biodiversity. Climate, biodiversity. All these crises have come together to, impact the developing countries to a point where, they're demanding from the north. These are south guys. They're demanding from north. Why should we trust you? You created the climate crisis. You pay us to resolve it. Our crisis is poverty. Poverty. And next, inequality. And so you pay us, we'll handle the green, just energy transition and all that. Poverty. Help us to rid ourselves of poverty. So we don't trust you because, your World Bank and IMF. Who dominates there? The G7 dominates. Do we have a voice? We don't have a voice. You promised us $100 billion every year for climate finance. Have you delivered? No, you have not delivered. And we've got mountains of debt. Help us, Mafi. Help us to at least suspend it, the repayment for a significant amount of time. And then you are being a spectator when we are drowned in flood waters. So you please help us when we have an extreme climate weather event. So, another thing, I was watching an interview yesterday on Fareed Zakaria is there on the CNN yesterday. I watched his interview with Macron, French president. You know how the French president began? Developing countries, the global south, are asking us, you've got so much of money to fight the Ukraine war. You don't have money to give us. You created a crisis. We are into that crisis because of you. And you don't have money to help us out. You've been promising, never delivered. That creates a trust deficit. If we don't trust the global institutions, China can grab an advantage out of it. So you have to act. Sustainable development goals. How are you going to achieve them? There'll be a summit in September. How are you going to achieve them? So these are the issues, how to deal with it. Summit for a new global financial pact. The North and the South are trying to get into a pact. The North is trying to respond to the demands of the South, which can be accommodated into a new global financial order. What is it about? Number one, basically Macron was saying, without the developing countries on board, we cannot resolve the problems of, poverty, sustainability, climate, biodiversity, etc. And we need to also help them to come out of the debt crisis. That's what Macron was saying. So basically, the existing financial order is not in a position to deliver. What did IMF say? IMF said, in 2021, we promised that 100 billion SDR we will give to the countries, and we have given. America also got, Barbados also got. So that's what IMF said, but somebody said $20 billion SDR is still stuck in the US Congress clearance. $100 billion SDR, $1 billion worth of SDR delivered by IMF. That's what they said. World Bank says we are, as of now, World Bank says, anytime there is a climate crisis, extreme weather event in any of the countries that borrowed from us, we will suspend the repayment for a while because they need the money. They don't have to repay us immediately. Point number 2. That's what the World Bank said. And this summit, where our finance minister also participated, because we are one of the co-sponsors, France, India, and Barbados. We are the co-sponsors of it. So our finance minister went there. World Bank says, we told the World Bank, you've got money, but you are not using it. Are you lending enough of it to the developing countries to come out of the climate crisis? No. You being extra cautious. So existing rules can be used, interpreted liberally to lend to the developing countries to deal with poverty and so on. Why not you inspire the private sector to augment your capital? For every dollar you are investing in the developing countries to clear the climate crisis, let the private sector back it up with another dollar. Tell them. So, there is, I'm sure you are aware, this capital adequacy of G20. There is a committee right now, N.K. Singh, R-Man, Larry Summers, that is the former Treasury Secretary of America. They are heading a committee that will come out with proposals and will handle them after the recommendations come. So, they are also going to tell the World Bank, take a little bit of risk and lend to the developing countries. Your rules allow you, interpret them liberally. Also call the private capital to augment the multilateral capital. That is another thing. That is the World Bank part. And, one more is Zambia, which owes about 6 billion, Zambia. That debt crisis has been resolved from Zambia. All other countries are also saying resolve us, also will pay you later. That's also being looked into. So debt is one thing. I've read somewhere, but not everywhere, that there's a biodiversity fund or whatever. We'll not go into it. When I searched again, I couldn't find it. Another thing is, they said that the existing multilateral development financial institutions have not come up to expectations, and therefore we have to revamp the financial order in favor of the developing countries. They're top down. We require bottom up. Bottom up meaning the global south consisting of 130 countries, they should have adequate and decisive voice about where the money comes from, where the money goes. And that bottom up participation in the global financial order is what you're looking for. You want a new financial architecture. And then finally, you are saying that the $100 billion that we promised to you in COP15 in 2009 will deliver now from this year. And we'll also arrange in the next 10 years for another $200 billion. But $200 billion is a drop in the ocean. You require trillions of dollars because the crisis has been aggravated well beyond where when you promised your 100 billion a year, which never materialized. So the 100 billion for climate finance coming. SDR's $100 billion worth delivered. And then World Bank says we will come up to your expectations, bring private capital, etc. And this is where we stand. And why am I plumping for this? Reason is, we are a co-sponsor. And we have seen our Honorable Finance Minister sitting along with Macron, Ajay Banga and others. United Nations Secretary General Guterres also had come. So it's a fairly big billing, number one. It was planned in the Sharm el-Sheikh COP27 itself last year. It was planned then, number one. It's urgently required, number two. We are a co-sponsor, number three. And we can't wait because the climate crisis is becoming more and more catastrophic and real, number whatever. So for all these reasons, the summit for a new global financial pact, North and South pact, to reform the financial order so that this folly crisis can be resolved. That's the Global Financial Pact. Now you please see this. One point I did not mention, it's co-sponsored by, we can't say France and India. India, Barbados, because that's also South country, and France. It's held in Paris, that's another story. We could have held it in, but too many meetings in Delhi, Jaipur, etc. So we let Macron hold the summit. It'll also get him some credit. He'll be known as a leader. He'll get international headlines. He wanted that. So we let him have it. Otherwise, it's our show. We are pushing for it. So, top down, IMF and the World Bank. They're controlled by G7, US, etc. Pact. New Global Financial Pact. All this, 40 heads of state and government. All this. There's a document that's come up after writing this, because it happened only 2 days back. I could come across the document they put out, which is pretty nicely briefed up in some of our down-to-earth, etc. But I'm still looking for, why will somebody report that a biodiversity fund has been created? Whether it's created or not, I could not find. I could not find anywhere else except 1 or 2 places. I would like to cross-check and then finalize. See, this is, I'm a little sort of curious about it. 200 billion over the coming 10 years. What did Sunita Narayan, a credible voice on environment, say? She said, in 2 days, you can't transform the global financial order to come up to the demands of the globals. 2 days, what can you do? 2 days, you can't do too much. The whole world did not come. But you had Sharm el-Sheikh, you have this, you're going to have COP28 in UAE, and then before that, in September, you're going to have a Sustainable Development Fund Summit. 4 big ticket events are going to take place. They could come together to create some impact. Otherwise, this in itself is not transformational. Restructuring of $6.3 billion of Zambian loan. That's encouraging, and others also want it. So it is global south. No achievement here. We are only starting a conversation of foundational importance because you're going to revamp the global financial order. That's about this new pact and all that. The new pact. See, please recall last year, ever since America started raising its interest rates in the month of March or April, last calendar, every other currency was tumbling. I was watching euro, yen, pound, yuan, Swiss franc. All of them were tumbling, and how? And of course, rupee also, we are no exception. And why? Because when American banks offer you 5% rate of interest, that is unheard of rate because generally they offer you 1%, 1.5%. This is huge, 3 times more than the normal rate. And you would all like to go there and park your money in American banks and, sort of have peace of mind. So every investor in every other country was liquidating his investments in that national currency, converting them into dollar and parking money in American banks. It happened to rupee also. So, businessmen, investors don't like uncertainty. Pandemic uncertain. Today, when America was in such a fiscal sort of standoff, today means last month, even then money was going into the dollar. Dollar was strengthening. Why? Because dollar could make 100 mistakes, but still dollar is a dollar because it's assumed that others make thousands of mistakes. Thousands of mistakes. So the point is uncertainty. When the child is worried, the child will run to the mother. And similarly, the mother here is American dollar. Ukraine war, run for the American dollar. Euro to dollar. Pound to dollar. And that Lady Liz's Truss, she sort of created problems for UK. And people thought that let's not keep our money in the pound, and they were converting. So, Ukraine war, uncertainty. And, China, America, and chips and all that, uncertainty. Instability also. And of course, the mother of all sources is the American unilateral monetary policy raising the rates. So Indian rupee was struggling. 77 looks like ancient. 82, 83 is what we are familiar with. 81 is relief, psychologically. So, if RBI did nothing, rupee would be 95. So RBI, at that point, October 2000, maybe 22, maybe, we had $630 billion worth of forex reserves, gold, SDR, this, that, and foreign currency. You know how much RBI used up? About $100 billion were used up to defend the rupee. So RBI was buying rupees, selling dollars, and there was a meltdown of $100 billion from the forex stock of the RBI, reserves of the RBI. $100 or more billion were spent defending the rupee. Keep buying the rupee with the dollar. Sell the dollar. Sell, sell, sell. So the currency that you sell becomes weak. The currency that you buy becomes strong. So compared to the pressure on the rupee, RBI was creating relief for the rupee, and the two forces fought off and the rupee still fell. So you can imagine how much pressure there was on the rupee. the exit from the rupee into the field of dollar. So that's how it happened. That is one big source. So RBI drew from its stock of forex reserves, and from there it defended the rupee. It did. And then why are they leaving? One reason is the higher rates of interest in American banks. So why not we also raise our rates of interest and keep the money here, some of it at least, and see our high rates. After all, we are India. We are India. The whole world is conspiring to see India goes up, and we are taking, making full use of this historical moment. So India could, suffer a day, but the rest of the month is ours. So you see, so we raise the rate to hold the capital already there in our economy, foreign capital. So don't convert to dollar and run from our country. Stay within my country. And if you're outside, come into my country and you're going to get 6.5, whatever, all that. So raise the rate and retain capital. Raise the rate and attract capital. That is the second prong of the RBI strategy. Third one is the swap. The swap, that is the dollar rupee swap. You're going to see that in there. So swap. Last year, please recall, it's not in news after that. Swap is this. So I have to, there's too much money, rupee in the economy. Rupee. Too much. Why? Story of fighting off the virus economy. Pump the economy with money. Let there be demand. Let there be revival of growth. Reduce the rates, reduce the CRR, buy up a lot of governments. All sorts of, techniques were used to flood the economy with rupee. All that rupee is there, it's inflating. So with one shot, you have to kill two birds. One bird is inflation, you have to kill. Another bird is the decline in the value of the rupee. You have to arrest that. So RBI thought, okay, let me go to RBI, goes to SBI. I want to buy the rupee. I have to create demand for the rupee. So what's the rate at which you guys are ready to sell me rupee? I've got the dollar, you keep the dollar and sell me the rupee. I want to buy the rupee. So RBI gave dollar to those guys who said, okay, we'll kind of organized choreography and all that. So point here is, okay, I'll buy the rupee at 77 rupees. Take the dollar, give me 77. So by buying the rupee, you pushed up the value of the rupee. By buying the rupee with the dollar, you also vacated the excess of rupee from the market. You defended the rupee, you defended the economy from inflation. So you sold. What is the swap here? Okay, you hold the dollar, give me the rupee. I'll come back to you after 2 years, which is upcoming March, next March. And I'll give you the rupee back and you give me the dollar. So that is what is called a swap. Swapping one currency for another. In the macroeconomics, in the financial markets, a lot of other swaps are there. We are not interested in that. We are interested in the macro swap in this case. We heard of swap in some other central bank to central bank also. Here the dollar rupee swap is, rupee dollar is the other way, dollar rupee is this way. I'll give you dollar, you give me the rupee for a while, 1 year, 2 years, now it's 2 years. And that is the swap part of it. So in this also you see the RBI making effort to ensure that the rupee does not fall and its valuation is defended. These are the three techniques, these are the three policies, the initiative steps that the RBI took to defend the rupee. And what did I say? Stabilize the value of the Indian rupee in the forex market 22-23. Now, though it's okay, you hit the rock bottom of 83.2. After that, you pulled back a little bit. Now we are in 82 with this thing. But, from now on, India is having party till elections and a lot of people will come into the economy. I think so. I have no idea. I think so because the more CNN, BBC, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Strangest of the quarters, you hear India is doing tremendously well. India is the, blue-eyed boy of the world and its investors. So, there could be dips, ups and downs, but the general trend is so a lot of foreign portfolio investors will come, closer to the election in the month of April, etc. You will have a rupee quoting around, maybe 81, maybe. I have no idea. I'm just, thinking loud. So from now on, the rupee could not be in danger unless something blows up in Ukraine. All sorts of things. After all, Ukraine has a nuclear power plant, Zaporizhzhia. Next to Ukraine, you have Belarus, which has, again the nuclear power plants. Maybe, they are a vassal of Russia. Russia has nuclear weapons. And you're playing around as if it is a, fruit market, farm market. So you see that rarest of the rare because there are red lines. Putin could talk loosely, but act loosely he can't. He just can't. That will be self-destruction. So net, rupee is going to be here. We've come out of a crisis. As of now, for a few years, there will be no crisis at all, except this Ukraine and a new virus pandemic. Both of them are absolutely, the unknowns, they may not happen. So this is this is how the crisis came up, and this is how RBI tackled it. So that's question number 5, but remember, we have not discussed question number 1. This is Africa. Africa is, the ultimate attraction. It's going to be for a long, long while. I'll tell you why. The average age of an African? 19 years. Indian? 29 years. China? 39. So, where is the dividend most here? Most. The population of Africa? 1.5 billion people, little more than us. The GDP of Africa? 2.7 trillion USD. 2.7, we are 3.7, okay, how they are calculated, that's another story. So they are equaling us, except that they're much, much younger, 19. And so, Africa is a huge market. China already tapped into that. We are also tapping into that. America and others, Russia, they want also. And that being the case for closer relation with Africa, 74 investments. We've been investing for a long while. $74 billion is cumulative, all that we have invested so far. And we have given them credit. Lines of credit. Okay, we'll give you this money. Use it with others or use it with us. You buy from us. I'll ask Exim Bank to give you 100 rupees, and with that you buy goods and services from India. So this is what you have granted. $12 billion you have granted. And the trade that you have in Africa, 90 billion the other day, our External Affairs Minister quoted all these numbers. $90 billion. Not too much, but, good to know it's been galloping. If this is the trend, we'll also go into 100 billion, 200, 300, etc. in course of time. So what do we export? Pharmaceuticals, textiles, chemicals, petroleum products. What do we import? We import, the ultimate. We import crude. We import coal. We import, uranium. You could be importing. What does it add up to? They're all energy, which means the energy security of the country, energy security of India. A solution could come from Africa. From South Africa, we import coal. Of course, Australia and others are also there. But from Africa, we import minerals, coal, crude, and uranium link also could be there. And the food we import. Food we import. Remember, our Prime Minister went to Mozambique, stayed there for a couple of days, and he struck a deal with them to import pulses from there. So yes, food security, energy security, for both we are linked with them. And all of us know one thing, the telemedicine links we had with them. And also please remember, what are the Africans saying? Africans are saying, after the COVID struck, West was buying up all the available vaccines and creating shortages and panic in Africa, while India has said that we are the pharmacy of the world, we can make vaccines and we'll supply them to you. So whom will they prefer, India or the West? They prefer India. Mahatma Gandhi, all that, India. 3 million Indians are there in Africa. They are also, tuning into Bollywood and of late the Indian Premier League, IPL, cricket also. So there is soft power, there is economic power, historical connections, and the elite of Eastern Africa are Indians. A lot of people from Gujarat are also there. You remember? Uganda, Kenya, etc. We are there. So people to people, decent. Energy security, food security, investment in trade, that's also there. Soft power is also there. Health diplomacy. Telemedicine is one, that was some years back. Now, we have offered them vaccine when there was shortage. So they are pretty grateful. And if you recall, even when our Prime Minister went to America, there was this talk of G20. Already 20 members are there, including European Union. We would like to have African Union. 55 countries are there in the African Union. 55 countries. We would like the EU to be a full member of G20. Because we see a lot of potential when AU is associated with the G20 under our presidency. That will also boost our credentials of being pro-South. And we are suggesting that Africa should have at least one permanent member of the United Nations Security Council with veto and all. We are suggesting that. They have climate problem. We have climate problem, means we can cooperate. We can cooperate on that front. And then we are also trying to resolve the Ukraine crisis. Remember the photos last week or maybe last fortnight? 8 African leaders went to Moscow. They also went to Ukraine, trying to mediate because it's helping nobody. Food prices up, energy prices up, critical minerals not being available. So this cost of living crisis is going to be a barrier to human development and also economic growth. So we have too much bringing us together. And also we can't leave Africa to China. China has a lot of investment there. Here is the number. Chinese investment is $254 billion is a trade, not investment. But remember one thing. Okay, they are building bridges and factories and power plants and railways and roads and all that. Africans are liking us because India is more beneficial in the long run. You know why? Local productivity, transparent. We skill the Africans. And why is China there? China is there. We will give you cash. We want the resources. our people will come and we will build all the infrastructure, and the spillover in the form of skilling you and all that won't be there. Whereas we are being preferred because we allow them, and we are not state to state. Our Airtel goes there. It's not the government of India. Chinese government sets its foot on China and expands its footprint. That is Chinese government, and there are security risks about it. Whereas, it's not the government going into Africa, Indian government, it is the private sector. So private sector, commercial relation, local productivity, skilling locally, creating employment locally. Everyone feels comfortable when guns and tanks don't come. China means military power. It may have a little more money than us. Military power, domination, buying up the governments, converting them into, what they call the debt trap diplomacy. Give money in the form of loan, fully knowing they can't repay, and put a provision in the contract that in case you can't repay, we will take over the asset for 100 years. Lease, whatever, all that. So, that is the relation they have seen with China, and they are not liking it, and they want to, at least they want to diversify. After all, we are not the bridge builders and road builders, but we can do quite a bit in education. We can do quite a bit in establishing of factories in pharmaceuticals, etc., etc. Health also we can do a lot. So, that is our forte. That is how we are shining with them. And I want you to know this. And I would also like to amplify on this. Remember 2018, Uganda. Lot of Gujarat people are there. Our Prime Minister went there. I remember 50 years back or 52 years back, Idi Amin was there, the dictator of Uganda, the crazy African dictator. He kicked out Indians from his country. That created a huge crisis. And I think our Prime Minister wants to, sort of tell them that we are all good friends and that was a, anomaly, etc. So our Prime Minister went there and he set out 10 guiding principles that we call Kampala principles about our engagement with Africa. The Prime Minister, how to promote economic growth and tackle challenges, terrorism, climate change. Some principles within the Kampala 10 principles I have shown to you here. Terrorism, climate change, economic growth. And global south, after all, if Africa and India come together. That is a classical story of global south making its presence felt. And in the process, the entire global economy will be uplifted, etc., etc. 3 million Indian origin people. South Africa. You have to mention Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, etc. So, Indian diaspora. Africa GDP, I told you, $2.6 trillion. A quarter, nearly a quarter of the global workforce. By 2030, I doubt, 2030 is nearly tomorrow, but soon enough, in 15 years maybe, a quarter of the global workforce, because all the developed countries are aging, and these people, Southeast Asia also is not really there. China is average age 39. We are 29, we'll be in circulation for quite some time. Africa, 19 years. And this you must acknowledge. It's Biden who proposed it. Our Prime Minister is taking it forward. Before going to America, he talked about it while addressing the G20 delegates. And while in America, again, the matter came up for joint endorsement. That is about India, Africa. So I've done my part. And, these are the 5 questions. We will recongregate tomorrow for another 5 topics. I didn't waste your time. I didn't drag my lecture. So, uh, you please, expect a PDF from us. We will make it available to you. That will make it. In half an hour, you can revise the whole thing. So, I wish you all the best. Good night. Subject is one thing, somewhere, but not everywhere. That was free fund or whatever. We're not going to it. When I searched again, I couldn't find it. Another thing is, they said that the existing multilateral development financial institutions and therefore we have to Saltri. Cinema.